Rahmatullah. We are live at Albayan Studios on the sixth night of Ramadan. We are joined by our dear guest, our dear brother, our pharmacist, Saeed Al-Khudri. We are joined by our dear guest, our dear brother, our pharmacist, Saeed Al-Khudri. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
عليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. Dr. Omar.
How's Ramadan been, alright?
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you.
Did you say the sixth night?
Well, it says here the sixth night.
Subhanallah, it's gone quick.
SubhanAllah, and it has, and I made sure that's correct because the nights are the beginning of
course.
the day, SubhanAllah.
Yes.
And I've been telling all these young guys now, before Ramadan, I was telling them, wait until Ramadan starts because you're going to fast the Ramadan we fasted.
Yeah, that's right.
SubhanAllah, the long days.
The long days.
I think
remember,
we would...
I still remember I bought my first pharmacy in 98 and it was January. Or fasting in the end of January, like New Year's Eve and over Christmas time, and I was like 8:30.
I just remember I used to like come back from school, have a shower because it was so hot.
Yeah.
No one had aircon back in those days. Sleep, wake up, have a shower, sleep, wake up, and he still had another 2 hours to go. He still had like these 2 hours to go. SubhanAllah.
Yeah. I did read somewhere that in inshallah 2030, if we do get there, there'll be 2 Ramadans in a year.
Yeah, because it'll
be January and then it'll start again at the end of December.
Yeah, there was a Hajj like that once upon a time where you're able, I think it was 2005, you done it at the beginning and the end.
Yeah. Oh, really? Okay.
Because you had like the 5th of January and then like the 25th or something of December. SubhanAllah. So obviously we go back every year. And for those that don't know, you actually, you talked about age. How old are you now?
Just turned 48.
48. But in the Islamic calendar,
yes,
you're about 49 and a half.
Oh, really? Am I?
Because the shorter years.
Yeah.
So it's probably actually older. Yeah. We're going to talk obviously about health in Ramadan. And just so quickly, we define health and disease. A lot of people don't know that Islam defines disease as anything that takes you away from your healthy state or a healthy state of a natural, say, human being. So, for example, someone has a cold, he's not feeling well, he's not in his natural state, then that's considered as a disease. Mm. Or someone that has a disability, for example, that's against the norm of a human, for example, that's considered as a disorder or a disease. Mm-hmm. So pretty much anything that's taking you away from your natural and perfect state, to say.
Excellent.
One thing I wanted to jump into Ramadan, because this is a question a lot of people ask in regards to a disease that affects, I think the statistics is like 1 in 5 Australians. And there's higher than that don't know about it. Like
correct, yeah.
Another 1 in 5 or 2 in 5 don't know that they can have it. And it is got to do with intake. So it can affect Ramadan is diabetes.
Yes.
So what do we know about diabetes?
Well, diabetes, it's a very common, like you said, nearly 1 in 5. Affects 1 in 5 people. Type 2 diabetes is most prevalent amongst our own community, and the Lebanese / Arab community, even the subcontinent. Very, very prevalent. Has to do a lot with diet and weight and body weight. That adds to it, and smoking and other problems as well. So, yeah, it's and in Ramadan it becomes really important to be able to, if you're going to be able to fast, to be able to, make sure you're treating yourself right. To lessen the effects of fasting on the diabetes.
So, in general, what we understand from diabetes, like there's some people mild, some people moderate, some people actually quite severe.
Yes.
To the point where some people shouldn't be fasting.
Yeah. So there's there's some type 1 diabetics. They're people who are basically born like that, and those guys will be on insulin straight away. And then there's type 2, which normally comes later on in life, and it's diet and lifestyle related. Type 2 can be uncontrolled or can be controlled with tablets. Most people control with tablets, sometimes with insulin as well.
And type
And,
2 is life, like, it can come about because your lifestyle is not good.
Yeah.
So if
it's
you're not
sometimes
eating
from-
well, you're not staying fit, you're obese. Not
Yeah,
even obese. Then
exactly.
anyone
Yeah,
can
just
fall
just
into
a
it.
little bit overweight. You know, what you eat. Basically, you've worked your pancreas so hard over the years that it just stops. You know, or
Working.
starts. Doesn't secrete enough insulin to control the sugar levels. And
that
of
normally
course,
makes
uncontrolled
high.
sugar levels. Yeah, uncontrolled sugar levels. Sometimes you won't even know. That's the problem with diabetes, like you mentioned. You might have. There's still a big portion of people out there that have diabetes and they don't even know, because they're not testing, they're not checking, and you don't feel anything. It's only when it's really late that all of a sudden you're like, oh wow, look at your arteries, look at your heart, look at your kidneys there. It's just like a silent killer, similar to high cholesterol.
When you hear someone, like, for example, he died of diabetes, he didn't die of a sugar overload.
No.
He died because diabetes speeds up
Other
aging
chronic conditions.
process, though.
Yeah.
Normally heart attack or blood
Yep.
pressure
Yes.
or, like, clots.
Yep.
That, like, for example, you hear they're always getting eye test, ear test,
Yes. Yep.
feet test. That's
Yes.
what we look into
Yes.
it.
Well, of course. Yes.
And when they cut themselves, for example, they don't heal because the blood isn't being supplied.
Yes.
The nerves die off.
The nerves. Yes.
So they lose feelings in their hands and
Yeah.
feet. So
Yeah.
if they step on a nail or step on something hard,
Yeah.
and it, like, goes in the foot or the hand, then they won't even realize that
Yeah.
that actually occurred.
Yeah.
But these diseases are. They weren't, like, what I mean, they weren't common in the previous, century or so. This is a modern day lifestyle disease that's popped up.
Yes, especially in Western countries. So it is. Yes, basically, it's a modern disease. Maybe partly some of that is because we've got better testing facilities, so we can actually test. But it comes about, especially type 2, is coming about because of lifestyle, and we've never been so overweight as we have this century compared to last century, or the century before that.
What's
Processed foods,
What's overweight?
sugars.
Because I remember, like, some people, they'll go to the doctor, they're not overweight, but the doctor will say, on the scale, the BMI scale, or whatever,
BMI.
you're actually overweight.
Yeah. Look, over 30 is obese. BMI is 30 is obese. Overweight, off the top of my head, I'm just guessing now, but it's somewhere, I think, over 25 to maybe 27. I can't remember exactly, to be honest. Look, it is. I know sometimes those calculations can be a bit daunting. It's like, oh, what? I'm overweight. But it's that's just one part of it. The overweight. It's basically lifestyle and reducing that sugar intake. And the problem is, we have a lot of processed foods now, and refined sugars are put in a lot of things. Not as bad as America, but we're pretty bad here if you're not careful with what you're eating.
I feel that with, especially like with diabetes, a lot of people don't sort of understand that us being from Mediterranean background, and I've heard this from a GP. He said that the Mediterranean body is not designed for the foods that we eat.
Yep.
So we're not designed to take, like, the carbohydrates, the oils, the fats. And if you think about it, if we're from Arabia, to say, our diet is completely different. Like, I don't think during the Prophet's time was kusa and mjad, the foods, like the foods, the oily foods that we have today. Even though, they did have meat, they did have some, soups and stews and so forth, but not in also the amount of consumption that we're having.
Yeah.
And so even though a person doesn't look obese, but the internal fat, or the vesicular fat, I think they call it.
Yeah, so the fat around the organs.
Yeah, that builds in the body, the
Yeah.
fatty liver, the fat around, the arteries and so forth, is actually put on the inside. And that's why it's not uncommon to hear, for example, someone just dying of a heart attack or dying from a clot.
Yeah.
Because we put a lot of fat, even though from the outside, the person might look healthy, but on the inside,
there's a lot of visceral fat.
Yeah, there's a lot of damage that's been done.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head. It's really about portion size. That's got a lot to do with it. And you're right. I mean, look, the Mediterranean diet as such is pretty good. But
Modify
our diet now it's not really. I would argue that our diet in Australia is different to what we're eating in Australia is different to if we were a family. If your family, for instance, if you were to move to Lebanon, you would eat way less red meat than you would be eating here.
Because the availability and the cost
availability
and the price,
and cost and so forth.
So it might be like once a week or
exactly. There'd be more vegetarian. You're eating less. And red meat is nothing that red meat is bad, but red meat has a lot of fat, right? So, and that's not necessarily bad, but again, when you're having it every day or every second day, you'd be having more fish. If you're in Lebanon, you'd be having more vegetables and what we call legumes, the beans and those type of things. So I know that, when my dad goes to Egypt, because Dad's Egyptian, he doesn't eat the meat over there. It's really expensive and the quality is not good.
What's that? I don't know, I call it the Egyptian snack pack, Khodary.
Khodary. You have that, you won't eat
carbs
again.
Carbs upon
it's like 5 every carb
the
you
rice,
want on
lentil,
that.
Pasta.
Rice, pasta, lentils.
Onions and tomatoes.
Fried onions and tomato paste and tomato. So, in Australia and if we look at the Western countries, we have so much access to food. It's relatively cheap compared to our incomes, and we're consuming a lot of those. The portion size is just way too big.
So a person that has diabetes, is it safe for him to fast?
Well, of course, the first thing you want to do is check with your doctor. Okay, check with the doctor if it's safe to fast. If you're controlled, it can be fine. Sometimes it can't be. It depends as well. If you're on insulin, what kind of tablets you're on, how often you need to take them. So the first thing you do is check with your doctor. But look, there's a couple of the main things we worry about is your blood sugar getting too low, what we call hypoglycemia. So that's getting dizzy, sweating, weakness, confusion. If that happens, you got to break your fast. But yeah, look, it's something you need to speak to your doctor about.
And if the doctor advises you that you shouldn't fast, take the advice and
what are the options?
Don't be hardcore and say, this is a serious. Especially a Muslim doctor, if he's Allah, he's going to give you the right advice. And Allah loves the one that takes a concession, and that's a concession for the sick. Yeah. So I find it strange that people, when they travel, they break their fast, but when they're sick, they don't. And verse mentions both the traveller and the sick. Yeah. So the concession is mentioned together. So if I know they might feel bad, they might feel okay, but breaking the fast is also preventing harm. So even if a person from the Sharia, from fiqh, is that if he feels he's not sick, but he feels he's going to get sick, he fears that fasting will make him sick, then he can break his fast. Likewise, for example, a woman that's breastfeeding and feels, I'm not going to have sufficient milk for the child, falls in that category. So it's not just I am sick, it's preventing becoming sick, obviously based on the right.
Yeah. And pregnant women
advice.
too? Pregnant women? Yeah. What's the...
I think the same, with pregnant women. Yeah. They fear that it's going to affect the child. Then, so it's maintained, not just about sickness, about maintaining health.
Yes.
Like, for example, someone, obviously, he's fine, but him not fasting may lead to dehydration and other medical conditions. Then again, obviously, there's a...
So look, dehydration is always going to be a factor with anyone. Like, you're going to get dehydrated.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to get into specifics, but you know, when you go to the toilet, you can tell that you're dehydrated. You know, it's very bright, or you know, or it's, you know, there's a lot of color in the urine. So that's a sign that, you know, there's dehydration. So dehydration is going to happen, but it's dehydration is worse for particular people.
Yeah, that have underlying issues.
Yeah, so for some diabetics, of course, and for some people with blood pressure problems,
or elderly, very elderly,
and anyone with kidney problems. So, you know, if you're on dialysis and that kind of thing, I don't think it'd be a good idea to be fasting if you're on dialysis. Some people do. You know, I do know of a brother now who's passed away that used to. Allah yarhamu. So it's possible, but you know, if someone asked me, I'm not the doctor, but if someone asked me, I would say, oh, you got to be very careful with something like that.
So, being that probably there is a lot of people that have diabetes and fasting, what's their suhoor? Let's say he's got diabetes. The doctor's told him, yes, you can fast. Most times the doctor will just give him the thumbs up. But the how and what he should do, the precautions, what should he?
No worries.
What should he take?
He's okay. So there's medications. So okay, well let's get into the what he should eat first. So for suhoor, you want what we call the complex carbohydrates for some energy and some slow releasing. Complex carbohydrates, they're slow releasing sugars. So oats, brown bread, brown rice. If you're gonna have rice for suhoor, that's what you do. You know, you would have some protein as well, some eggs, some fiber, you know, and healthy fats. So, you know, nuts or avocado, and those kind of things, and lots of water. No sugar, and limit the coffee during suhoor for the diabetics. I would say that for everyone, but I know some brothers out there, they really love to have that coffee for suhoor. You know, it's not the best thing for you, but go for it. But for a diabetic, they're the main things that you want to be having. And you want to, like I said, you want to be, and then while you're fasting, you know, you would monitor your blood sugar levels.
It doesn't break your fast to monitor.
No, well, not that I know of.
It doesn't.
Yeah. So, you know, do the finger prick if you've got the machine, at least 2 or 3 times a day. Anything that's dropping, if your sugar level is under 4, then you really got to think about breaking the fast. And if your sugar level for some reason is high, anything over 17, you want to be thinking about breaking your fast as well there.
So generally,
so remember that anything under 4, you want to think about it. You're getting into dangerous territory.
So I think that obviously you have to have a benchmark. So between 4 and 17 is your safe.
Yeah, that's where you can.
Zone.
That's your safe zone. Exactly. That's your safe zone. Anywhere between there. And then for iftar, again, you know, it's something to bring up the sugar levels quickly. So a date is perfect for that. So some dates and some water. Not too many dates, just a couple, 2 or 3, odd number. And a balanced meal. You know, so again, lean protein, some lentils, some adas, or grilled chicken or fish, or something healthy. You know, no. Take it easy on the fried foods.
Does that include air fryer?
No, air fryer is fine, actually. The wife made something with the air fryer today, actually. Yeah.
Surprising how good those things are.
They're pretty good.
I can't actually imagine my life without one.
Yeah. What have you been making in it?
Everything.
Really?
Absolutely
you can.
Everything.
I see that there's all these fancy recipes now.
Got a little one. We have a large one. Mm-hmm. We've got a little one now. Because portable. Obviously you can't keep up. The little one will do like the chips or the nuggets.
Yeah.
And the other one you can do, pretty much everything, even pizza. Surprisingly.
Really? Oh, actually, it's funny because my mum, she reheats lahm bajin in the air fryer. And it comes out really crispy.
Some people actually cook it in the air fryer.
Okay, no,
You will be
She
surprised.
hasn't progressed to that.
And it's really like an oven.
Yes, they
just
are.
Oven.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
a brother was saying, I had steak, and I go, he's, how you going to cook it? I'm going to cook it in the air fryer. Because you can't cook it in the air fryer. You can't cook it. I go, trust me, you have to try it.
It is an oven, yeah.
And subhanAllah goes, nah, it won't taste nice. Anyway, we put him in. I can't remember what type of steak it was. And they came out, and he was shocked just by the way he looked.
Yeah.
He tasted it. And then from now on, he's just there.
Yeah, it's a great way
uses
to
air fryer. So,
it's a great way to cook.
but yeah, you're avoiding the oil.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's just avoiding the oils, and especially, and even if you were going to fry some food, if you had to, just not with ghee and those type of things. You got to fry it in something a little bit more healthy.
We love that ghee.
The samne.
That ghee, it's
The samne.
subhanAllah.
Yeah.
Really.
So they're the main things in terms of food. But the other thing you've got to consider is the medication.
So you should take it before suhoor, when you have your suhoor. Metformin is the most common one people take.
Yeah, metformin, Diabex, Diformin, metformin, goes by a few different names. That's safe to take. You take it at suhoor and take it at iftar. No problem. You wouldn't take it though if you're not eating.
Yeah.
For instance, if you just got up for suhoor and you're a bit late and you're just going to have water, then just have your water. There's no need to take that metformin if you're not going to eat, because then you'll risk dropping your sugar levels too low during the day.
So only with food.
You should have it only with the food. There's another one, glycoside. Glycoside is a otherwise known as dimicron. That's the most common name. That one you might need to adjust the dose with the doctor. That one you've got a better, higher chance of lowering the blood sugar levels way too much. So that one normally you would need to adjust the dose of that one. So dimicron. But again, all these you want to be speaking about with your doctor.
So
if you get to.
when a pregnant woman wants to give birth, I heard this a lot. It's called a pregnancy birth plan, where she tells the doctor how she wants to give birth and the process or whatever, and they write down like a plan. Right?
Really?
They plan it out.
I haven't.
Like, for example, if this happens, that happens. I don't want a cesarean. I want a cesarean. Like all that.
Okay.
They write the whole thing
yeah,
out. You know what I mean? If I want an epidural, like they go for everything.
Yeah, the epidural.
And it's like it's detailed, and the doctor and them agree on it. All I'm saying is, given that example, is when you want to fast with diabetes, have that same plan with your doctor and say, listen, I intend to fast Ramadan.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's going to ask to do a blood test to check the HbA1c levels and other levels to make sure everything is good.
Yep.
And then from that, you and your doctor will put a plan and say, for example, take this medication here, then do this, check your blood sugar. If it raises more than this, below this, whatever, break your fast, and put that plan together, and like a care plan type thing, work it out and stick to it, and inshallah you'll be safe.
We have in the pharmacy we have lots of patients who fast successfully, no problem. But you just need to, like we said, you need to monitor. You need to do the right thing. You need to do the right thing. You need to monitor, especially during the day, checking the blood sugar, especially if you don't feel well. Feeling a bit lightheaded, a bit dizzy. You got to know the signs of your blood sugar level when it's getting too low.
SubhanAllah. So that's generally, like, in a nutshell, the diabetes aspect.
Yeah. And if you are on insulin, you can still fast. You just definitely would need some dose adjustments with your insulin.
I'm not sure if insulin breaks your fast, to be honest. Is it considered like a nutrient?
I was going to ask you.
I think
as far as I know, it's not. It doesn't break your fast because it's an injection,
and it's something that already exists within your body.
Yeah, and it's but I was going to ask
better
you.
double check.
Yeah, but look, I've got a couple of.
I remember hearing if it's anything that gives energy and gives like the stimulate like strength. That may not be allowed, but if it's something that's just replacing something missing from the body, then that's fine. However, I think we better double check.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can double check with.
But if someone's got
your
diabetes
imam.
that he needs insulin, it's probably more leaning towards
Well, yeah, look,
don't fast. Yeah,
the way now there is these new insulins now that are 24-hour acting. So, and then you have the GLP ones, which is Ozempic and those other ones, and they're
Ozempic is made for diabetes. Yeah, just to make that clear to everyone. It's made for diabetes, not made for stars and celebrities to look like. Isn't that the idea?
It's true. It's true. But again, that's even Ozempic is a mimic of a hormone that's in your body. So that doesn't. Well, as far as I know, as well, that doesn't break your fast. So, but there is these new types of. Not that Ozempic is an insulin, but there's these new types of insulins that work 24 hours. So it is possible. It's not like the old days where you used to have this insulin shot and then start eating straight away.
Is there an automatic? Is that?
Yeah,
I see people they wear. Is that a monitor?
That's
or?
a glucose monitoring.
It doesn't do any.
You can get insulin pumps as well, and these kind of things that work 24 hours.
Allah.
So there's lots of new things now. So it is possible. And again, if you want to fast, it's you've got lots of options now.
Just seeing this. Hello, inshallah, we'll have a look at this question. So that's in a nutshell diabetes.
Diabetes, yes.
And for those that don't know, Islamic doctors in the medieval times used to know about diabetes.
Oh, they did. There you go. See,
and they used to taste the urine.
Is that right?
To see the
ketones or the sugar.
Yeah. So that it's been around for a while.
Who used to taste it? The doctor used to taste it?
I think so, or someone. Yeah, I remember reading about it. I could be wrong, but I remember that. Well, that's the way they used to test the sugar. Like they've known that it's not like a new condition. Something they've known about for a while.
Oh, there you go.
Subhanallah. And just one question out of curiosity: where's insulin come from? Where do they get insulin these days? Is it made in a lab or
it's made in a lab now? Yeah. In the first insulins were from cows.
Cows.
And then now most of them are made in a lab. So they're that word is hard to say. Synthesized. Yeah.
So it's synthesized now.
Yeah.
But originally from
cows.
Cows.
But,
Subhanallah.
Bovine.
Moving on to another condition that's, again, diabetes is very common. Blood pressure. I'm just going to look it up. Or hypertension. Blood pressure. How common here? How common is high blood pressure?
Probably about half our dispensary is blood pressure medications.
SubhanAllah.
Blood pressure and cholesterol.
1 in 3.
1 in 3.
Is very common, affecting about 1 in 3 adults. So that's a lot. And as you said, that's probably the most common medication.
Yeah, there's some heartburn. There's heartburn ones, or what we call GORD.
And just checking the diabetes. 50,000 diagnosed roughly in a year, but that's the ones that are known. I've got here 1 in 20 is known, diagnosed. So 9% of the population.
Yeah, it's huge.
Could have diabetes. So I say 10%. That's known and not unknown.
That's really big.
So yeah, subhanAllah. And I think this is worldwide. 537 million adults living with diabetes. So yeah, subhanAllah, it's quite a lot. Blood pressure, what is it? Like people, blood pressure is 160 and 1. What is it? Why is it a problem? And why is having high blood pressure a bad thing?
Okay, so high blood pressure is what is it? Like your normal blood pressure is what we call 120/80. So there's two readings, systolic and the diastolic. what we go with. And there's no need to get all technical, but there's the two reasons: the high one and the low one. The high one should be 120, around there. The low one should be around 80. So what we classify as high is depending on age and other risk factors and other, but anything from about 140 and over would be we would call
So when
high.
someone comes with a reading of 180, this is
180 is near danger territory.
yeah.
200, you go to the hospital.
And so
180 is still.
Is that
like,
because
it's
of
high?
what? Okay, so we know diabetes is a problem with the pancreas,
Yes.
right, and insulin. What about the high blood pressure? What's the mechanism of cause? Is it multiple things?
There's multiple.
Unknown? Is it heart? Is it
There's the blood pressure is multiple causes. So could be kidney, could be heart, could be stress, could be anxiety. There's lots of different things that cause the mechanisms for a high blood pressure. So it's not unlike diabetes. You can't just pinpoint it onto one thing.
I just got Jamal saying estimated 1.28 billion adults between the age of 30 and 79 worldwide have hypertension. Most
SubhanAllah,
2/3 living in low to middle income countries. So 1.2, that's like 1 in 6 or 1 in 7, whatever people.
Yeah.
1 in 5 live with hypertension. So food intake, like I think salts and certain things can elevate it.
Yes.
Heart problems
Yes.
can
It
elevate
could
it.
be. Yeah.
Clots can elevate it.
Yes, but there's sometimes caused because of the clots.
Infections. The other way around. Hypertension causes.
The other way. Sorry. Multitude of things that you can't pinpoint it. But all those ones you're saying is
but
correct.
it's lifestyle. It comes back to a metabolic lifestyle.
It can be lifestyle. It can be hereditary as well. So it's from all angles basically.
And is there low blood pressure too? There
is low blood pressure. Yeah, it's not as common, but low blood pressure is a sign. Could be a sign of something. Actually, I was mentioning before the story of one of my pharmacy reps, drug reps, who her blood pressure was. She was feeling all dizzy. Her blood pressure was, I think it was 90/60, so really low. And then she took it at work. It was 90/60. She wasn't feeling well, fainted. Next minute, she's getting a pacemaker put in, and she's less than 50 years old.
So blood pressure can cause conditions, and it can be the symptom of other conditions.
Yeah. So exactly.
Yeah.
So that's low blood pressure. Normally a low blood pressure is normally from dehydration. When you're fasting, you can have low blood pressure. So you have that dizziness, and especially when standing up, you're lying down and you stand up and you're a bit disorientated and dizzy. That's a sign as well. That's from low food intake and that kind of thing. Or something more serious and sinister, like heart failure and those type of things.
We mentioned diabetes and blood pressure. Just to sort of highlight, where does cholesterol come into all this? Does that affect these type of things?
It's
or
mixed,
something different?
That's mixed in the middle of them all.
Okay.
All three of them. It's not uncommon for someone to have all three.
Yeah. So like the triple whammy to say is diabetes, high blood pressure, and then high cholesterol.
Yeah, and that puts them in a very high risk category.
Yeah.
For things like heart disease, stroke, and those type of things.
So the question I've got too, if you don't know, this is sort of an out there question. I remember then someone I knew that had high blood pressure, and they were seeing they didn't have any kidney problems, but the doctor that looks after it is a kidney specialist.
Yes.
What's that? Why is that? Is that got to do with
your blood pressure is regulated through the kidneys. SubhanAllah. It's, the way it works is amazing. SubhanAllah.
So by
the kidneys affect
increasing the kidney.
There's an enzyme. There's an enzyme in the kidneys that affects the blood pressure, and it's that.
So that's the brain of the.
Yeah, and that's where because it affects blood volumes. right?
So you can have good kidneys, but just the blood pressure, but they're regulated through.
Yeah. So your blood pressure is regulated. The blood volume, the amount of water in your blood,
Yeah.
it affects your blood pressure. That's why we say, you eat salt, it makes your blood pressure go up, because salt allows more water to get reabsorbed from the kidney into your blood, increases your blood volume, and puts up your blood pressure. So there's more volume of blood to. That's
high blood pressure, they give them diuretics, or if they see blood pressure. Yeah, I recall that they check for inflammation or edema of the hands and feet.
That's right. Yes.
And that's a sign of high blood pressure because fluid retention.
Yeah, or the blood can't keep up with pumping up all that extra fluid.
SubhanAllah. And then again, kidney failure can also cause heart. So it goes both ways.
It's all SubhanAllah the way it works. But that's a lot of the drugs that work to lower blood pressure. Not all of them. A lot of them though work on the kidney. A special enzyme that's in the kidney.
SubhanAllah. And how are the drugs in treating blood pressure? Is it quite good, like quite successful?
Yeah, look, yeah. I mean, they are, but like anything, you can also fix it with exercise and diet.
Yeah.
That's a possibility as well. Yeah. So, depending on the cause of your blood pressure, because being overweight can cause high blood pressure as well. I
was watching, and they asked me how I end up in these documentaries, but like for me, it's like just go to one, and I don't know where I end up. Yeah. Alien documentary or something weird like that, and then I realized I try to go back to where I was, started. But I remember I was watching. This is a proper sort of documentary that was saying that a lot of these conditions that we're seeing today goes back to looking at how a human should be active, and going back to as we were hunters, for example, or gatherers, or our days were like how we would see the whole of creation now. We venture out, and the amount of energy, and we only bring back the food that we can carry, for example. And how if you look at tribes that they've that haven't been sort of influenced, right? Hidden tribes, even today, you don't find them obese. You find them very athletic. You find them very strong. You find them very lean. And it shows that the human sitting as we're even sitting, you know what I mean, for 5, 6, 7 hours, that's not designed to be part of our regular routine. Even the 9 to 5 job, it was never a 9 to 5. It was from sunset to sunrise to sunset. And the sleeping, like the 8 and 9 hours sleeping, it's considered to be too lazy for the human. Only need, say, for example, 4 to 6 hours rest. So in a nutshell, they're saying that, and in a way, if you look at the way of the Prophet ﷺ, the companions, and the nations after, and just look from 300 years ago, 200 years ago back, that this is how life was for a lot of people. It was a high active lifestyle. They said, like, for example, when someone was building a house, the whole village will come together, and everyone will, like, there was always work to be done. If not in the field, in the farming, in the hunting, there was always activity. Digging a well, even herding sheep apparently takes a lot. You know what I mean? Out of someone. So the lifestyle was physical, and it took a lot of the energy, which now we replace that by, because I always think, why do people go to the gym? What is it that people are attracted to a gym? Is it something that exists within our nature that feels comfort when we run on a treadmill, or when we carry weights, or we on a bicycle? And if you really, really look at it, these things serve no purpose other than bringing it back to our origin, which is being very active.
Yeah, 100%. Our bodies were not meant to be sitting down for 8 hours a day. They're just not. They don't like it. And unfortunately, that's what it's become. You look at our kids. They don't play in the backyard anywhere near as much as we did. And you can only see that getting worse. for the next kids and the ones after. And then all jobs, we have this computer now that can do everything, or a phone, even worse, that can do everything. And so, what are the jobs outside? I mean, yeah, but tradies are still working outside, yeah. They're still getting their hands dirty and getting active. But there's, not much. Every other job is, sitting behind some computer.
Even like, subhanAllah, I find...
And all that affects movement and affects blood pressure. Yeah, of course it does. All that. It's you need to exercise. You need to get going. You need to get the blood pumping, as they say.
And I think even for the mental...
Yeah, of course.
Mental state. If you don't mind me asking, because we're talking about diabetes, we're talking about blood pressure, and the suhoor and stuff is, I guess, similar to the diabetes.
True.
And that.
Yeah, it's similar.
Where do these play a role? Because again, I think these are common in our community, but there's also something very common, which is dementia. Do these play a role, as we know, in dementia, or is it something completely different? Or?
No, look, there's no link to dementia that I know of between the two. Dementia is that's something that is in the brain. It's a bit of if you have a look at a scan of someone with dementia, it's like scars on the brain. SubhanAllah. So it's not that you need to have trauma for the dementia, but they still don't know.
SubhanAllah.
They still don't know.
They know nothing about.
So they don't. It's pretty much they don't know. They don't know much. They know what happens, but they don't know why.
But it's not related to... The reason I mentioned that because it's very common that we...
Yeah, look, it is common, and but no, it's not related to any of them.
The second one, we discussed this with Dr. Yusuf Osim last year. Does this cause hair loss?
Hypertension, blood pressure, no. Diabetes, I'm going to say no, but poor nutrient, like if you don't eat right, that can have a little effect. That can have effect on some hair, but not hereditary hair loss. Hereditary hair loss like mine. See that? That is right in the camera there, and at the back. That's doesn't matter. You're gonna get that's hereditary. So there's medications that help for it, but in terms of nutrients for that is not really gonna help.
And one more question, because I know these are questions that sort of people would ask. And sleep apnea, does it have anything to do with these conditions?
Sleep apnea, no, but overweight definitely has something to do with sleep apnea.
Yeah.
Even to now where there's been approval for Manjaro, which is like the new age Ozempic, that is now got approval to be used for sleep apnea. So it's proven that the weight loss can definitely help with sleep apnea.
Inshallah. I'm going to go into one topic because people are going to be asking. We discussed the diabetes, discussed hypertension. Just in a nutshell, speak to the GP. You can fast under certain conditions, and obviously, guided by the pharmacist, and adjusting your medication to better fit your fasting capability. Yes. If the doctor tells you no, and he obviously fears Allah and he knows what he's talking about, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ ذِكْرٍ كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Ask the people of knowledge. If you don't know, they're the experts. Yes. They see it on a day-to-day basis. Obviously, they're going to know what's best for you. Yes. Don't feel bad because this is a concession Allah has given you. You know what I mean? And in a way, when you don't fast, you're benefiting someone else because you have to pay for that first. So there's no loss in the reward, and you're breaking someone's fast. We mentioned a few times Ozempic.
Yes.
And the amount of questions that we hear randomly from just in a gathering, or people talking about it at a coffee shop or whatever, because it's becoming very common.
Yes.
In a nutshell, what is it? What is it used for? What is it going to be used for? Does it have any benefit in general weight loss? Yes. They talk about like the Ozempic face or the Ozempic look that there's people start to have certain characteristics when they're using it. Is it harmful? Can you give us a little bit of breakdown? Because I do feel some people are rushing to it as if they're rushing on growth hormones or steroids just as a cosmetic thing. rather than healthy eating, diet, exercise, as the alternative, not as that they've tried it or not, they just don't only go down that path, and considering it to be like a wonder drug.
Yep. All right. So no problem. And look, they're becoming very popular. So they're called what we call GLP-1s. And it's basically a hormone that's already in our body that's released when we're full. So this mimics that. So the way they work is there's two main ones. There's Ozempic and Mounjaro. Ozempic / Wegovy, semaglutide, and then there's Mounjaro, which is tirzepatide. And so I'll just talk to them as like a group of drugs. So the way they work is they make you feel full. It's an injection. You just inject it once a week, and it makes you feel full. And it was originally used for diabetes because it makes you feel full. It regulates your glucose levels. But the main way of acting is it. If you have this meal here, like that, what you would normally eat, makes you eat less. You just get full quicker. So, subhanAllah, that in itself shows you how to lose weight, because you lose weight, and it's effective. It's become so popular because it's effective. But it also, you have to, if you don't change anything, when you stop it and you go back to eating that same amount, then you're just going to start putting weight back on again, and that's what can happen. But it's. Look, they're a very good tool. I'm not gonna bag them out. It's a very good tool. They work. I've seen amazing results. They do work for the right people. But again, you need to change your lifestyle if you want to keep that weight off. Once you've
you can't take it forever.
Well, you can't take it forever. I mean, you can. Well, you can't, but they're very expensive as well. You don't want to. They're expensive as well.
So it's designed to get yourself in a habit to live a certain lifestyle, eat a certain way.
Yeah. And look, most people lose about, I think after about a year, I think the results, they vary, but they're pretty, Mounjaro is a little bit more effective than Wegovy or Ozempic. And people are losing after a year about 20% of their body weight, which is significant.
Yeah,
it's significant. But you lose the problem with it is you lose a lot of muscle mass, so you're losing muscle. So you really have to watch, get up your protein intake, and if you can, you go to the gym at the same time, so you can actually build up some muscle instead of just losing muscle.
So don't rely on it, but use it as a tool to lose weight.
Yeah, if you want to lose weight, I mean, look, for diabetes, it's excellent, because for type 2 diabetes, like we said, like you mentioned, it comes with one of the, most people with type 2 diabetes are overweight.
Yeah.
So this helps two things: helps to regulate the sugar levels, and also helps them lose weight. So that's why it's become so effective, and the government has approved it for those people. On the PBS, but for weight loss, just by itself, you gotta.
So it's only on PBS for diabetes.
Only for diabetics, yeah.
Okay. So what would be what's the difference? Because you said it's quite expensive.
Well, Ozempic is about $140 a month.
Okay. And on the PBS,
on the PBS, it's if you're a healthcare card holder, it's about $6. Yeah. If you're a worker, it's about 31.
Yeah. So generally, its main
but the other brands can be quite expensive. We're talking about $400, $500, $600 a month.
But generally, consult the doctor, speak to him about it.
Yeah.
See if there's other alternatives, primarily for diabetes.
Yeah, there's a space for them.
Yeah,
there's a space for them. But they're not going to be. You're going to, you're likely going to lose weight. I'm not going to, say, oh, they don't work. They do work, and like I said, they work. But
what about this thing they call stomach paralysis? There's a lot of talk.
They have some side effects. So they're not without these side effects. Feeling sick, like nausea. Nausea is the most common one. People just feel sick all the time. Reflux, constipation. It slows down the food in your stomach.
Yeah.
So you get all these digestive issues, or you can get these digestive issues. They do get better as you stay on them for longer.
Yeah.
But look, they've.
And I think overall, I think this is the general thing. A lot of people have to understand with medications and vaccines, with anything really, that there are side effects.
Of course.
Just like with fruit, vegetables, some people have allergies. I remember a guy, the funniest allergy. I had to ask him twice because we have like a patient form, right? He fills it in, and one of them is, "Do you have any allergies?"
Yeah.
And when I read this one, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
It was cucumbers.
Cucumbers.
I looked at him like that. I go, "Does that say cucumber?" He says, "Yes." He said, "Yes, I'm allergic to cucumbers." I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Every time I have a cucumber, I break out in a rush." I go, "Are you sure? It made something your mum or dad done?" He goes, No. He goes, "I can't have any cucumber." I told him, Lebanese cucumber. Because anything that's a cucumber, I stay away from.
I haven't heard that.
I've heard of mushrooms. I've heard of certain nuts and things like that. But there are people that have allergies to certain things, and we can't turn around and say, "Well, let's stop cucumbers from the market," because there's always unfortunately going to be side effects. With even Panadol you mentioned now. It's for those that don't know, if you want a big box of Panadol now, you have to buy it.
Yeah, that's right. Panadol. Big packs of Panadol are behind the counter now. The new law from February.
There's something else that I can't remember. There's some other common thing that will end up being behind the counter. Is that the only thing during that time? There's a few other things.
Nah, it's just the big sizes. So anything less than 50 it'll be outside.
Yeah.
But if you want the 100 box of Panamax, that's behind the counter now. You got to ask for it from the pharmacist.
SubhanAllah.
It's it's a new change. Yeah, unfortunately, there was too many incidents of people trying to overdose on Panadol. So
SubhanAllah.
We live in that world at the moment, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's a different topic. Suicide.
Yeah.
SubhanAllah. Maybe it's something might talk about this Ramadan, because it is unfortunately common and is causing a lot of.
Yeah. There was some other ones I want to mention was that there's people ask in the pharmacy, hey, does a inhaler break my fast? Does a nasal spray break my fast? I tell them to speak to the sheikh, but as from what I know, it doesn't.
Doesn't, yeah.
The
the general rule is anything that enters your stomach, breaks your fast.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that is nutritionist to your body, like you can't put an IV glucose drip and get all the energy. So anything that provides nutrient to your body is breaks your fast.
Okay. So so as I understand it, in injection, nasal spray, inhaler, all of them. All right. Injection, yes, no? You're not
sure? If it doesn't cause the question that comes back to is
nutrition.
Does it cause nutrition? Does it give you a nutritionist, like a boost, in a sense where you've got an advantage to say? So let's say
it has nutritional value.
Yeah. So let's say someone's getting a cortisone injection. It's not going to change. Not going to make him fall. It's not going to give him any energy. For example, that may be allowed. But if someone takes an injection, you would say, like, someone's getting an iron infusion or getting a IV drip. That's going to give him.
So an iron infusion would break the fast, you think?
If it gives them nutrients,
it's replacing iron.
Yeah.
Not so much in.
I think
well,
that's the
it's-
question. but I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying.
No,
like,
that's an
just the
interesting
question
because
that you would
iron is
ask-
iron is a vitamin as such. Well, it's a nutrient. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So the question would be to the doctor: is this giving me any nutrition?
Mm,
You know what I mean?
interesting.
Or vitamin D injection,
Vitamin-
whatever.
well,
So,
I was just
yeah.
thinking about
So
that in my
anything
head.
going to
The
give me
vitamin D injection.
a boost, then it's not saying it's haram for you. You're just saying that you consider that you have a deficiency, you need to take it. Then, if it's something that break your fast, then you can get considered obviously among the sick.
Mm,
So, or there's always an option to have it
after.
too. Like I know, for example, with iron infusion, if it's not that serious, people can normally wait a few weeks to maybe even after Ramadan.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Or if obviously if you're on an IV drip, you're in hospital dehydrated, like
Well,
you shouldn't be
if you're
fasting.
in hospital,
you know
you
what I
probably
mean?
shouldn't be fasting. Anyway.
But then again, people ask questions. What about this? What about? Because obviously there's hundreds of injections out there.
Yeah.
We just said the general. If it gives you any nutrition value
Yep.
to your body or
Yeah.
strength, then it's like adrenaline.
Breaks adrenaline.
Injects itself with what's it called? The EpiPen.
The EpiPens. Yeah.
Then that's obviously
Okay.
not allowed.
Yeah.
I think Jamal sent me a fatwa too, saying that anything injection that causes nutrition to the body. So, but then again, clarify obviously with the doctor.
Yeah.
and-
Look,
and-
I
and
always
with the chef.
I always recommend it there, but a nasal spray, or a asthma puffer, they're generally okay. From what I know.
Just a question here: can I stop the blood pressure medication? We'll speak to the doctor.
No, I would
Yeah.
don't stop them. Just take them at suhoor or iftar.
Yeah.
I would. The thing with blood pressure medication, if it's once a day, then most of them are once a day. You would just take it at the same time every day. So if you take it at suhoor or take it at iftar,
Just keep the
just
cycle.
keep taking it. That just change your cycle.
Are there any of them like? There's none once a week. Yeah, they're only either once a day or twice
No,
a day.
there's once a day or twice a day normally. And some of them, there's some of them that's very important. You don't stop them suddenly. So
Yeah.
if you were going to stop them, you got to do slowly. You got to wean yourself off them slowly. So depending on which one they're on, you would need to, for whatever reason. But you would check with your pharmacist or your doctor anyway.
What's the best food or drink for high blood pressure? We mentioned stay away from the salts. I think we mentioned.
Yeah, we just with foods for high blood pressure, low salt, and for the best drink is water. Water's the best drink. If you're dehydrated, you can go with the hydrolyte or some kind of electrolytes.
Being on drinks.
Yes.
I finish and I can't forget this question. Yeah.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah, done. Yeah.
Yeah.
So water, if you're really dehydrated, hydrolyte or some rehydration ones with no sugar. So not the Gatorade with the full of sugar, just the regular ones.
The last question, this is from me, and I think
Yeah.
we'll end off after this, inshallah. Energy drinks.
Yes.
Just a yes
What
or
about
a
'em?
no.
What about them? I'm not going to be hypocritical. I do drink one or two every now and
Occasionally,
again.
I
Yeah.
think it's nothing wrong. Occasionally,
What's your question?
is a V or a Red Bull or whatever's out there on a daily basis,
Yeah.
good for the body? I won't say good, but is it gonna cause issues for a person?
Look, the caffeine content of a V or a Red Bull is the same as in one coffee. Okay? The caffeine content. The other things that are in there, now they're different.
Sorry, just on that topic, there's new drinks that are coming out with like 5 or 6 times the content of V, with like 200 and 300 milligrams of caffeine in it.
Yeah, no.
That stuff, like, my son wanted to get one, or somebody wanted to get one. And
Yeah.
What brand? What brand is that?
No.
Ghost.
Oh, Ghost. Yeah, I've seen them. Yeah, I've seen that one. These ones, that's similar caffeine content to pre-workouts. Now, I'm horrified when I look at a pre-workout. Some of them have 300 milligrams of caffeine per serving. So that's we're talking about, 3 shots.
Coffee.
in that one serve. That one serve is 3 shots
Plus
of
the
coffee.
sugar, plus
all the other. Now,
everything else.
if we look at energy drinks, look, they've got some vitamins in there. They've got some other things in there. I'm not an expert in them. If you have one a day, is it going to as they say? I don't think they're as bad as some of the other things that are out there.
Yeah.
Obviously, a coffee is better. If you're going to have them, a coffee is better. But, these other ones that we're talking about, 300 milligrams of caffeine in a serve, and some of those pre-workouts have got some weird things inside them. I know people who would have pre-workouts plus coffee plus this, and they might be having nearly 600-700 milligrams of caffeine a day.
And that's too much, obviously.
That's way too much.
So would you say safe is 1 or 2 shots of coffee a day? Is more than plenty. Of
one or two a day, yeah. Yeah, 1 or 2 a day. And especially in Ramadan, I mean, apart from that, in Ramadan, you want to limit your amount of caffeine can dehydrate you. So it makes you go to the toilet. It's a mild diuretic. So you're going to lose some water. So be mindful of that. And plus, you got rebound headaches when you don't have your caffeine.
I just feel the biggest problem with the energy drinks, I drink it too occasionally, is that and that's just more of a not luxury, convenience.
Look,
because
it is.
It's there, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and they taste nice, and they give you that boost, right?
Yeah,
they give you the boost. They give
boost.
you the boost. You're feeling a bit. I use them because I travel a fair bit on the road, and I use them when I'm going on driving long distances. They just keep me alert. But in saying that, the sugar, a lot of them have. Some of them have some really high content sugar.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful of that.
So they're not designed to replace a drink. They're designed to give you that boost if you need it.
Yeah, they're not just a drink to
leisure and have
like
2-3 a day.
Yeah, they're not like that. No, they're not meant for that. They're meant for,
keeping you awake.
Giving you. But when you need a caffeine boost, and remember, caffeine's just fake energy anyway. So, it's after a while it just stops working. That's why
your body gets used to it.
Yeah, it's why people can have a coffee and go to bed.
Yeah, a lot of people can do that.
I can't because I don't drink a lot of caffeine. So, but a lot of people can.
SubhanAllah.
But look, are they very bad? Some of the sugar content in them is bad of the energy drinks. The actual caffeine content is not that bad. They do get a bad rap. Probably because they're marketed to young kids, and I wouldn't recommend them for young kids.
You always see a 10-year-old going, "Oh, can I get a cappuccino with 1 sugar?"
Yeah,
that does happen.
It doesn't happen. Probably because it doesn't taste as nice as these sugary things. But caffeine, like nicotine, it's no good for developing brains.
So generally, I think they even advise it not for kids.
No, definitely.
If an adult were to have it, consider it to be like a cup of coffee, to say, where you'll have 1 cup of coffee maybe in the morning, 1 at night if you need to, but you won't have 3 or 4 coffees.
No.
A day.
And again, we're talking about the non-sugar versions. The sugary versions, they got, some of them have crazy amounts of sugar in them.
You know what? That's an idea. They make a decaf coffee. They should make a decaf energy drink, just the taste, but without the effect.
Well, the problem is they don't taste that good. That's why you're drinking them. You're drinking them for the effect of the caffeine. I am anyway. I'm not drinking them for the taste. If I want taste, I'll have something that's nicer.
I think the trend that we see is, like before we used to say, like manouche with tea, right?
Yeah.
Now it's manouche, and you have to have a V.
Manouche and V.
You can't beat that.
That combo. That combo.
SubhanAllah.
Manouche and the V.
Jazakallah khair.
Yeah.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you in this blessed night of Ramadan. And if there are any questions, they can post them and we can answer them next week, inshallah. But anything that we mentioned about diabetes and hypertension, that pretty much falls into majority of these metabolic conditions, high cholesterol and so forth. Get the doctor's advice, monitor.
Monitor yourself. Even with blood pressure, you can take your blood pressure a couple times a day, especially when you're not feeling well.
Yeah, and if you're not feeling well and you are sick, there is no harm and there's no sin of
You have
breaking the fast.
concessions, as you said.
Concession is there, and don't put yourself in a situation where you might harm yourself. And at the end of the day, align yourself with your doctor or your pharmacist going forward with this condition and any other medical condition that you may have. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make